Okay.
Hola, I'm Kim Haas, and I'm super excited for another day of Latino Conservation Week.
Sweet.
She looks familiar.
Looks like you.
She looks
Awesome.
familiar.
We're live.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As you're tuning in, feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from in the comments. We'd love to know. My name is Aurora Perez. I'm regional coordinator in the San Francisco Bay Area with Latino Outdoors. And I'm accompanied today by Kim Haas. Today we're celebrating Conservation Cultura, part of Latino Conservation Week. And Conservation Cultura really is an affirmation of how conservation is so embedded and woven into the Latinx culture, rooted through in our history and traditions passed from generations and generations before us. And, it can be seen in many ways, expressed in many ways, whether it's reusing, gardening, cooking, passing down items, whatever way it is, conservation is definitely woven into the Latinx culture. And today we really want to show some of that in different ways. And so let us know again in the comments where you're tuning in from and how your family celebrates Conservation Cultura and what that may mean to you. And again, so I'm accompanied by our guest, Kim Haas. Kim Haas is the executive producer and host and creator of Afro-Latino Travels with Kim Haas. It's a travel show really celebrating the African influence in Latin America. And so Kim has traveled extensively throughout Latin America and has had the opportunity to see our conservation cultura in so many different countries. Kim has also been active in the Afro-Latino issues for more than a decade and is a founder of losafrolatinos.com, a blog celebrating Afro-Latino culture. So thank you so much, Kim. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. No. No, thank you, Aurora. Thank you all. And it's just great to discuss conservation cultura, because I think that's at the heart of who we are really as human beings. And so much of what we get from others and our family and our friends and our culture is that culture that's passed down, those traditions that are so rich. And then so you can be so unique to each individual culture. So I think that's what we try and really tap into and celebrate on Afro-Latino Travels, is that incredible culture that comes from Africa and its descendants throughout Latin America, and then it's spreads to the United States as Latin culture and Latin American culture develops here as well. But I think it's how we preserve, as you said, how we honor and cherish that which is so important to us, and that conservation cultura I think is so important and so significant, because it gives people a sense of pride and tradition, knowing that mi abuela, mi bisabuela, or someone in my family did this before and this is how it got started. And so that keeps you going. And I think sometimes maybe in the tough times, in those moments, and this has been a year and a half that have been so challenging for so many, and people often pull on that tradition and that culture to get you through sometimes those really difficult moments. But then there's also lots of time for celebration. And so that's what we want to honor in Afro-Latino Travels, is that conservation cultura, and specifically, around the African influence, which we'll get into, but I think unfortunately goes all too often unrecognized in Latin America and in US Latino culture. And so that's why I came up with the ideas, because I said, this culture, this conservation cultura is too rich. It's too vibrant. The legacy is so strong. We've got to be, and I want to be a part of really honoring it, celebrating it, making sure people are aware of it, and then continuing to learn as I go in this journey. I mean, it's not just about me, it's about my growth and learning too. So I think that, if we're open, as I say, if our hearts are open and that we come with the spirit of learning and sharing and passing on to others, it's great, and we all flourish and grow. So I love this, the Conservation Cultura and all that it has to offer each of us.
Yeah, and I see in the comments, Christian mentioned that their mom uses aluminum foil for huevos con chorizo sandwich and will reuse it until it falls apart, and uses paper napkins. And yeah, and that's something that I could totally relate to as well. When I think of conservation cultura and what it means to me, part of that is thinking about like just realizing all these little things that my mom did growing up that I didn't consider at that time conservation. And it wasn't until now in my adult life that I learned what conservation is. I'm like, oh yeah, my mom did that. My mom also reused cans and put in different things that wouldn't normally be in that jar. Even like clothes, like using hand-me-downs. I'm the youngest of three, so using my siblings' clothes when they outgrew it. And then like even after I thought it was done and it was ready for the trash, my mom would be like, no, we can still use it as a rag to clean. Yeah. So all of these little things that isn't usually seen or perceived as conservation, it really is. And it is expressed in many different ways. So yeah, so keep letting us know, everyone that's viewing, let us know how you consider, what you consider, and how you express conservation cultura and what it means to you. I see someone else agreeing about the Tupperware always being used in mom's home.
Yeah, of course. I mean, those things are, like you said, I mean, when you're a child or when you're younger, we're like, oh, what is this? Or mom, please, But as you get older, those items really become more and more significant. And you're where's that rag my mom gave me? Or where's that, whatever the item is, because it has that, it's passed through time. It means something. It's gone through years and memories and traditions with you. And so that's the stuff that we, I think, need to really hold on to and honor and celebrate, obviously. And then people, I think Juliana put in the, food, which I know we'll get to, because food's at the heart of so much of culture, and yeah, so good stuff.
Yeah. Kim, why don't you share with us some of your travels? Like, what inspired you to start traveling, and where have you visited?
Well, and I also love to see in the chat too, and hear, where people are from or their families, or where they've been, or where would they like to go, if they're traveling in the near future, or where would they like to go with their upcoming trips. But just a little bit of, give you a little bit of sprinkling of where I've been. Obviously shot the episodes, and we're going to share some of the segments in Costa Rica. So if any Ticos out there, hello, hola. Brazil, boa tarde. And Colombia, I see Juliana saying Colombia. I've been to Colombia several times, and I think all these countries are amazing to me. So I majored in Spanish in undergraduate and graduate school and college. And I lived in Seville, La Maravilla in Spain, junior year in college. And then I've just traveled throughout Puerto Rico, and I see Mexico. Yes, Christian. Yes, of course. So many places, the Dominican Republic and Venezuela and Peru, and I don't want to leave a country out. But just to give you an idea. And so I'm always, Luis says he loves Costa Rica, which I do too. And so I'm always looking for that next adventure, but also happening to, when I travel to these places and Cuba, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave Cuba out, and we send our very best to the Cubans right now, is I was always interested in the Afro descendant community in these countries. Ecuador, I'm trying to get to Esmeraldas for Carlos. And so that's always been super fascinating for me, is learning about the African diaspora in Latin America. And when I traveled to these countries and went to Lima, Peru, and met with Susana Baca. So you talk about conservation cultura. If you all don't know Susana, she's an incredible Afro-Peruvian singer. And she talks about, I met with her and interviewed her, the musical traditions and the conservation. I mean, she was like, had an encyclopedic knowledge of Afro-Peruvian music, which just, you talk about blowing your mind. I mean, it was amazing. I just sat there like this, like she knew everything. And it was just, I was just sitting there, please just tell me more. It was incredible. So that's just a little taste, and I could go on and on. So I will stop.
Wow, yeah, so many beautiful places. I'm also
Yes.
seeing people saying in the comments that they're from Baja California. I have family there too. Guanajuato, Mexico. Love to see all of these different places where people are from or have traveled to. It's so amazing.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I know Querétaro and that whole area there, and Guadalajara, and yeah, Mexico's a favorite as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Yep.
I see people reading here that they love to travel, and Maite saying that they love to travel and try new cuisine and dance to local music traditions.
Yes.
And Kim, you've traveled so much. Like I bet you've experienced so much different types of food from all of these cultures. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yes. So I love to eat. So I love, one of my favorite things. I mean, I love sampling food wherever I am and trying new, dishes. But I have to tell you, I love hot weather. And so, it's summer here, thank God, on, the northern hemisphere. On the East Coast, we've got a little tiny window. We just have, I'm in the New York City area, so we've just got like from May to, maybe sometime September. But I love it. 80 plus, I'm like a happy camper. I get cold at like 79. I've got my sweater on. My husband's like, what's wrong? I turn on the heat. So I'm at heart. So that's one of the reasons, obviously, why Latin America speaks to me among so many. But I love if I'm by the beach and I have a plate of rice and beans and seafood, some fish, and maybe tostones or patacones, depending on where you're from. I am like the happiest camper. And then I'm sitting by the beach and a good conversation and some music. I am like in love. Just paradise for me. And then anything on top of that is just fabulous. And I love trying the cuisines of, all these different countries and experiencing, and then trying to come back and think, well, if I don't have the ingredient, if I can't do this, can I try a riff on, whatever plate I just tried? So there's so many incredible dishes. The cuisine just, you could just do whole shows on just the cuisine in Latin America alone. So it's pretty, yes, Luis, thank you. Patacones, yes, depending on where you are, tostones. So we're plantains, as he said, fried plantains. So yes, the cuisine and the myriad of ways of, having seafood or plantains, maduros, or however they're prepared, is always pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, food is really just so special. It's really a way that we can all connect. I think anytime I have any sort of family gathering, friend gathering, any sort of gathering, food is involved.
Yes. Yes.
So it's just such a special way to connect with people and to connect with cultures and just learn a little something new, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so we are going to show a little clip.
Okay.
Kim, do you have anything? Do you want to describe it in any way before we put it on screen?
I hope everybody ate before, because this is a clip from my series Afro-Latino Travels with Kim Haas, and it's a segment with Selvin. Selvin is a restaurateur in Costa Rica, in Puerto Viejo. So it's outside of Limon province, in the area of Limon, and he's on the Limon episode. And I just love meeting Selvin. He's so nice. He has, I think, a great story, but there's so many great stories. And I'll let you all see it, and then we can talk about it. But I do hope you did eat before, otherwise you might be even more hungry. I'm hungry, but okay.
The Caribbean hits you with all five senses here at Cabina Selvin y Blanca, and this land has been in Selvin's family for generations. So from the concert of howler monkeys up in the trees to the ocean waves pounding at the shore yards behind me, the sounds of Costa Rica are everywhere. But it's the smell of coconut that's drawing me to Selvin's kitchen. Let's go find out what's cooking. Vámonos. It's great to be here.
Also for me.
We've heard so many good things about you.
So I came over here, that was in 1985, when I started a restaurant, and There was no light. There was no road.
Wow.
I had my sign put out on the beach. This is part of my grandfather's property, and they came in here in 1918.
Wow.
Yes.
So what are we going to make today?
Well, today the idea is to do some rice and beans some rundown.
So what is rundown?
Rundown is it's like a soup, but it's a stew with coconut milk. You know, when we're growing up, my dad, if we're gonna do some rundown, my mom would say, okay, so you run to the farm and you get a banana. You run to the ocean and you catch a fish. You run over there and you get a breadfruit, and you know, it's like running down. You run down the village over here and run down there, and then everybody come together. Some grated the coconut, some will be peeling the yam, some will be scaling fish and frying the fish.
So it sounds like that was a great way for your mom to get 14 kids out of the house.
Yeah, I get it. So
Okay.
This is the yuca.
Ooh. So you learned to cook from your mom?
Right, my mom teach all of us to cook. Yeah.
Oh, so the boys and the girls.
She had 14 chefs.
Yeah. So wait, what number are you?
Number 8, yeah.
Number 8? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So what's the secret to making a good rundown?
It's your ingredient,
Yes.
your coconut milk, and your fish.
And a lot of love, I think.
Right, you know, it goes with that. Goes with that.
Wonderful.
So this is the coconut trash.
Oh man, okay.
Do this so we get the milk from it.
Oh, can I try it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, try that.
Oh, you can feel it. Yeah. Actually feels pretty good.
It feels good.
Yeah. So it feels somewhat like sand.
Like sand.
Well, we are near the beach, right?
Right on.
Yeah. So this is how you make coconut milk.
The coconut milk and also the coconut oil.
Oil.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You dump it in your hand and squeeze out the milk.
Okay. And then what do we do with this?
This coconut milk is going for the rice and beans.
Oh, for the rice and beans.
Yeah.
All right.
Now we're gonna deal with the fish. So we cut this up and add some salt to it, and then we fried it before you add it to your vegetable. Here we have some more fish.
All right, more fish.
This is the marlin. We're gonna chop the rati. This is the rati. Now we're gonna strain the coconut milk.
Okay.
Here we go. So I have to wait until this oil heat up, then I add the fish to the oil. Okay.
So you're putting that in there? Yeah. Oh boy. This is some heavy stuff.
Okay, now we're gonna put the season into the rundown. Celery, some bell pepper.
Good, great color. Some garlic.
Gonna put 4 Panamanian pepper.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So this is like, these are the superstars
These
of
are
the
superstars.
This is
gonna
it.
work right in.
All right. It's got to be good. It's got to be good. It
Yeah.
looks great. Because, you know, anything fried anyway is going to be good.
Right,
Okay. Let me try these beans. Mmm. This is going to be delicious. No doubt.
Este es el famoso rondón, entonces vamos a. There you go.
Okay. Oh,
And,
it looks beautiful.
yeah.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah, it's good fish. And it's right from outside here. the
Right from
ocean,
outside,
right
yes.
here, yeah, next door.
Your mom would be proud.
Yes, she is proud about it.
She is, yes.
Yeah, she's proud of
Yes.
seeing us having this nice rundown and
Yeah.
chatting about it and calling her name.
Call her name. Wait, what is your mom's name?
Anita.
Anita.
Yeah.
Anita.
Anita.
All right.
That did make me a little hungry.
I know. I was like, says que rico. Yes, indeed. I can still taste the dish. I mean, it was so good, so flavorful. And you know, there's nothing like, you know, when you have fresh food. I mean, you can just taste it. And then with great company like Selvin, great setting, just beautiful with lush vegetation, stone's throw from the beach. I love the beach. It just made for the perfect ambiance, the perfect setting for a dish like that, and obviously to share some of that, the culture, right? La cultura, from his mother and his, you know, the family and the tradition of, as it said, you know, run down comes from run down to the beach and grab, you know, whatever's there, run down and go get some of this. And that's what that's about. This exactly that. And he's just Selvin's just a lovely person to spend time with. So it was really pretty lovely. I'd love to know how many people have had rundown or rondon, as they say in Costa Rica. That would be pretty cool.
How did you go about meeting Selvin?
So we know for in preparation for the show that, there's certain segments we'd like to have, like how do you do a cooking, a travel show and not have a segment on cuisine, right? So we will have that in all, in our segments. And we were talking with the Costa Rica Tourism Board, which I will say thank you to them again for being our sponsors, our, partial sponsors in this, and believing in the concept of the show, because they could have easily gone a different way and not honored their Afro-Costa Rican roots. But I still thank them to this day for believing in the concept of the idea. And so we knew we want to do a cooking segment, and they, right away were like, Selvin, he's pretty well known, and especially around the Caribbean coast, and then also, throughout the country. And so he was suggested, and, we talked with him, read about him, and just knew he'd be, I think, perfect for that episode.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I love where Selvin was describing the fact that their mom would just send them out of anything else. All 14 of them.
Yeah, I know. I was like 14. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I have one child, and I'm like, 14, but a way to, also, but it's part of that family culture now of, he's talking about it, he's passing it down. And it's just to have that in a bowl, right? To have that culture tied in a bowl in a dish is so important. It's not just like, just having some, a bowl of soup, but the soup that means something to you, that has a family history, has some significance, I think is just, there's no price you can put on that. It's really priceless.
Yeah. And I see a comment here by Maite saying that in Mexico as a child, there was an abundance of lobster and fish, but now it's changed by overharvesting. What changes have you seen on your travels? Have you noticed any of those changes?
Yeah, thank you, Maite. We hear that, and I love meeting with fishermen, and because it's so many of these communities are, particularly the Afro-Latino communities, so many of them are by the sea or have that connection to the sea, or where seafood is a staple of these communities. And so they have, obviously it depends on the country, but so often they have been hard hit by overfishing. And so, I do try very much, as I love seafood, to watch the lists in terms of what fish, are overfished and what's recommended in terms of, fishing. I used to love sea bass as an example. And then, I read that it's been really seriously overfished. So I just stopped. Obviously that's just a choice that I make, but so I try and be very conscious and aware of that. But yeah, many of the communities in the Afro-Latino communities have been hard hit by overfishing, overharvesting, and they're oftentimes looking for ways to supplement their income. What else can they get into in terms of industry sectors as a result of, seeing that fishing and seafood, unfortunately, and I'm drying up, for lack of, better terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for that question, and thanks for that insight, Kim.
Yeah, sure. I think I saw Scott had I'm here in Costa Rica for a month. Oh, he's going to Lima next week. And got really inspired to go after watching a show from there the other week. Oh, how nice. Scott, I'd love to hear, I'd love to hear more about since you're there now. And if you do get to Selvin, you must tell me, and please tell him I said hello. I have to actually reach out to him, but tell him I said hello, because I think you'll have a wonderful time. It's a beautiful area. I mean, just gorgeous. I mean, I live basically in New York, well, Jersey City, so right next to New York. And I'm a city girl, but I love getting out into nature and really appreciating the greenness of Costa Rica. I mean, it's so tan verde, tan bonita. And that area where Selvin is so pretty and so green and lush. I mean, you just can't help but take it all in and just hopefully appreciate it, because it's just so gorgeous. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And as I said, he's a stone's throw from the beach. So that makes it extra nice, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can only imagine how beautiful that experience must have been to be able to have Selvin walk through that dish with you and then eat it right then and there in that magical place.
Yes. Yes, that's a great word. It did feel magical, and it did, feel really special.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
thank you. Yeah.
So we are going to show a second clip. Would you like to describe
Okay.
it, Kim?
Yeah, so those of you who like to dance or watch dancing or just feel the music in you, hopefully this next segment will speak to you. This is from the other episode from San Jose. And so I'm with Shari Crawford Clark, who's a professional dancer. And I won't say any more. We can talk about it. But Shari, I just find absolutely, she's so graceful and she's just lovely, just a lovely human being, and just exudes grace. And so we can watch it and then talk some more about it, because I think she speaks so she's so articulate about what dance does for her, and hopefully we all can take something from that.
For some, dance is just a form of exercise or reserved for special occasions. But for Sharifa Crawford Clark, a professional dancer on stage and off, dance represents so much more. Shari's style combines traditional Caribbean dance steps with African movements that truly celebrate her heritage. Vámonos. Hola,
Hola.
Shari.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
But where are we?
We are in Park, Spain, in the center of San Jose, Costa Rica.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a great place
It's
for
a
dance.
great place, yes.
¿Qué tipo de baile va a enseñarme hoy?
Vamos a hacer como un calipso caribeño.
Dice
como,
calipso.
Como mover caderas.
Ok, y usted, pero y cuando hablamos del Caribe, de los movimientos caribeños, ¿de qué estamos hablando?
Estamos hablando de una fusión de movimientos. Pueden ser afro, de África obviamente, jamaiquinos y latinoamericanos también, tropicales. Es como una fusión. Es una forma de cultura, entonces pienso que al menos en la parte afro, desde la opresión que se ha vivido durante años, la danza ha sido una forma de unión entre familia, tribus y de liberación, una forma de ser felices y a pesar de las situaciones que tenemos en lo cotidiano, podemos expresarnos y ser libres y ser quienes somos en realidad.
Ok, muy bien.
Vamos a empezar moviendo las caderas un poquito de lado a lado, como dibujando un 8, un 8,
un 8.
Para allá, para allá, para allá. Exacto. Vamos. Y cada vez más grande, más grande, más grande. Eso, muy bien. Ahora vamos a quedar solo para un lado. Vamos a sacar, igual, dibujando como un círculo. Círculo, para allá. Para allá, eso, muy bien. A eso le vamos a agregar unas manos que vamos a hacer como dibujando un sol. 1, 2, 3, 4. Más despacio los brazos. 2, eso. 3. Brazo. Para el otro lado. Brazo. Eso. Y ahora más rápido. Vamos al sol. 1, 2, 3.
Ok.
Y al otro lado. And now, shoulders. Yes. Con los hombros, shimmy.
Shimmy, yeah, shimmy.
Yeah, shimmy.
I like the shimmy.
Yes, I like it too. Easy. And that's it. Yeah, very good.
Bravo, bravo.
Bravo.
I mean, this is just fabulous. It makes me smile.
Yes.
And you're always smiling.
Always.
I love it. Yes.
Dancing makes me happy.
Yes. Tell me, what does dance mean to you?
Para mí el baile es un estilo de vida, la verdad. Es una forma de conocerse, de push yourself, de amarse también y de dar a las personas algo, luz.
Amarse.
Amarse, claro. Claro, uno se conoce y conoce los límites que tiene y también hasta dónde puede llegar
De verdad ha sido un placer, un gran placer.
El placer es mío. Ojalá que les guste Costa Rica.
Me encanta.
Gracias por compartir nuestra cultura.
Placer.
Aww.
Wow. I love watching that video. It really, smiling and just like happiness can be so contagious. Like I had a smile on my face watching that entire video.
I'm glad. And I appreciate it. So lovely to hear. And I have to tell you, I smile. I mean, you know how many times I've seen them. And because we edited them, and so you're watching them and watching them. Thank you, Tiffany said nice. And they still make me smile, seeing the lovely people. And it just makes me so happy. I mean, it's hard to watch that for me. I can only speak for myself, I think, and not be happy and not feel like there's good stuff out there, and they're great people in our world. Mm-hmm. And it just makes me feel really good to know that. Can I say one thing about when we were in preparation for the segment? I used to dance, and not like Shadi, but as a little girl and as a teenager, I danced and some modern ballet and jazz. But so I love dance, and I love going to see Latino arts groups and dance groups, African American art, dance groups, and especially here in like New York, we have so much. And so I always knew I wanted to have a dance as part of the segments of the shows. And if you've seen Limon, I don't know if Scott, if you've seen the Limon segment, we have a dance segment there as well. But for San Jose, I knew, and so somebody referred me to Shadi, and I saw her, and I just thought, oh my gosh, she'd be fabulous. But then we were like, well, this was the rainy season in Costa Rica when we were shooting. So we were challenged because before we went, we were told by the tourism board, it could rain every day. And we had a 12-day shoot for both episodes, a total of 12 days. And so, you're thinking, oh my gosh, you want to show the beauty of Costa Rica and being outdoors. But then you're thinking, well, if we shoot this thing and then it pours, I mean, so you're constantly thinking about those things. And then I just thought, how can we shoot Shadi in a place, and I don't want to say it would have been nondescript, but in, some four-walled building with no spirit in it. We could have been anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so we took a chance and we just gambled and said, let's go outside. Is there a great park or someplace? And tourism recommended Parque España. And so we just crossed our fingers, and we actually, for the 12 days, it only rained one day, the last day, and then it poured that day. But I tell you, I said, somebody is truly looking out for us, because we got through the rainy season and those 12 days with one day of rain. And Shadi just was, that setting, the park is so pretty. I love parks. And the park is just a great, parks can be a great oasis, especially if you're in an urban area. It's that greenery, and if the flowers are in bloom, I think it can provide tremendous peace and a tranquility in the midst of whatever is going on in your life. And I went to one of our local parks in Jersey City a lot during the pandemic, and I ran and I walked, and it just gave me, for moments, great sense of clarity. And so I wanted to do it in the park, and I thought we found a great spot. And last thing I'll say, she's just, as I said, is so lovely, so graceful, and talks about how dance, allows you to love yourself. And I thought that was just so wonderful. And what I also thought about, and I had like tears, I was almost crying at the end when we finished the shoot in that segment, because I thought about how many times Black people have been told that they could not be ballet dancers in particular. And she has ballet experience. And I thought about how many limitations have been placed on Blacks and Latinos in dance. And so in particular, Afro-Latinos, because, we're used to Afro-Latinos in terms of sometimes around the percussion and certain types of movement in dance. And so her ballet training is obvious. And to see her with such finesse and style and grace, and I just thought she just destroys that notion and that stereotype and that limit that Afro-Latinos, African Americans, and even Latinos that, we cannot dance, we cannot be ballet dancers. And I just thought that was really lovely. And obviously her words.
Yeah, no, I definitely resonated and connected with that part when she said that dance to her is about loving yourself. And I also the wording of just like how dance can be a form of resistance and liberation. That is just super powerful to be able to hear from someone. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? And dance, if you look at in particular in Afro-Latino culture, dance so often is, and dance in general is a form of expression and communication, but it really was, like in Puerto Rico with bomba, a way that enslaved Puerto Ricans, Afro-Puerto Ricans communicated with each other, told stories. Samba in Brazil. I mean, dance is a real form of expression and storytelling, communicating one to another. So, you're moving your body, but you're telling a story when you do that. You're sharing an experience. You're communicating with yourself or with someone else. So there's a lot behind dance. It means so much. It's that conservation cultura, passing down. And when we pass down a particular dance form, we're conserving the culture. We're conserving the traditions. I think it's just, it's priceless. I mean, it's just, I think, pretty incredible.
Yeah, and that is what conservation cultura is. We can talk about all of these little things that we do, but again, it's just the preservation of that culture and being able to pass it along. And so I love that you touch on this aspect of storytelling, because that's what we see through your traveling show. And so for someone who might not be so familiar, like how do you go about getting an idea or your inspiration for episodes or for like the clip that we just watched?
Well, you know what, and thank you, and I love all your questions, and everybody's comments are just so fabulous. And I just want to shoot in every country. I mean, that's the first thing. Like, I just want to go to every country, and that's the truth. I love Latin America, and I just want to shoot in every country. And hopefully, our goal with this series is to bring out, in particular, the Afro-Latino experience, because it is so underrepresented in television. You have 30% again of the population, and you rarely see them in media. You rarely hear their stories, and when you do, they tend to be very negative. And so we wanted to be, my goal with creating the show was always about celebrating all these incredible people that I've been meeting on my travels. I was like, wait a minute. I was in Santiago, I was in Havana, and half the people look like me or you, and yet when you see Cubans, these aren't the picture of the people that you see, right? And so, my goal was to be very intentional about showing Afro-Latinos, because they absolutely deserve it. And their contributions to Latin America are just so rich. So, in answer to your question, I don't have, we want to go to all these countries. And it's about hopefully honoring, as people from the communities tell us, what's the dish here? What dish, is part of that conservation cultura that, everybody drinks maybe, on New Year's Eve, or what's that dance that perhaps only women do, or, only men do, or what's that fishing tradition that you do on when the moon comes out, on June 1st, I'm making that up. But just to say that those fabulous things in these Afro-Latino communities that have been part of their culture. And then so often tied to the outdoors, and tied to community, and tied to conservation and our environment. I mean, it's been there. It's part of these traditions. This isn't something they just woke up and said one day, let's just do, these have so often been centuries in the making. And that's what we try and share.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
You did. Yes, you totally did.
In a roundabout half an hour.
Did you ever find yourself like having trouble connecting with any people that you visited at these different places that you've been to, or experiencing any challenges when trying to share their stories?
That's an interesting question. So, do you mean
Like, was there any hesitancy from Selvin or
Oh.
dancers or like anyone, or maybe not even people you directly approached, but just from the community that was there? Like anyone at the park that was like, what's happening over there?
What did I do over there? I know you see the people walking by, and I'm like,
Yeah.
they're like, what's going on over there? So it's interesting because as we are doing the pre-production, so we're looking for trying to line up our content. We know we want to have a cooking segment, and so there was a family that originally wanted to do the cooking segment, and then in San Jose. And then I'm not sure what happened, and they declined. And you you know, try and give people assurances that you're not, my goal is never to do anything that would be harmful to anyone, that would be derogatory or defaming, or believe me, because there's enough content and there's enough stuff about Black people already that that is not my focus at all. I want to flip the, page and turn the page on that. So I'm not sure. I don't know if they got cold feet, and it's maybe for some people opening up, their kitchens literally, just may not be something that, or maybe they didn't, care for the premise after all. I don't know. But they just decided to pull out. And so I probably, you can expect that things aren't going to go smoothly, right? You're not going to get everything you want.
Mm-hmm.
There will be challenges, but what's the end goal? The end goal is that we have and do the very best we can with the show that hopefully, people connect with. And like Scott is traveling and going to Costa Rica, and if there's other people that we inspire, fantastic. But it's almost, in life, there are hurdles and there are bumps. And so that's a great question. And yeah, we did have one family that decided not to be part of it. But, you try and make the case that your show's only, the show's only going to be about hopefully uplifting and inspiring. But people don't, they don't know that. And so I don't know what happened, but I don't know what the reason was, but they decided not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Are there some things that you've learned or taken away from all of these stories and these experiences in all these different countries with Afro-Latino Travels?
Oh my gosh, so much. So these are our first episodes, the Costa Rica, and we're talking to Honduras right now. Not sure how that's going to go. It's a lot involved in trying to get a show shot. But we just had a call with them last week. So I'd love to shoot the Garifuna communities in Honduras. So if anybody's out there from Honduras, hello, hola. We're talking with Cuba. We are scheduled to shoot there in December, so I'm super excited about that. We obviously have to see how things go because we know right now they're in a very vulnerable place, and so it depends on what happens health-wise, and obviously we want everyone in Cuba to be safe and well. So we'll see, but that's they're all of them. It's just pretty incredible, and Brazil. But Brazil was hard hit by COVID-19, and so we're not able to go there now. So all of it's kind of seeing which countries are going to be ready and able to kind of host us and have us there. And then we also have to do, I must say, fundraising because the show's on PBS. We have to come as producers and hosts with the shows ready, and it takes a lot to get a show produced. So we still have to continue to do fundraising in order to bring all this to fruition. So we'll be embarking on a fundraising campaign in the near future. But, you just do your best and see what opens up. And, somebody mentioned they were from Ecuador or mentioned Ecuador in the chat. And so Esmeraldas just absolutely fascinates me. And I've been learning more and more about the Afro-Ecuadorians' reverence for their ancestors and nature. Carlos says, so thank you, Carlos. And so that just sounds like there's a lot of good stuff there. And so, so it's getting to all these countries and being good travelers while we're there.
Yeah, that's a great point there that you ended with, is being able to visit all these beautiful places, but also be respectful and learn a little bit about the history, learn a little bit about the place before you go and travel there.
Yeah, it's my, because I'll be, I think, a better host the more I learn before I go. And, I learned about Costa Rica and how much Blacks built the railroad in Costa Rica. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's just mind blowing. I'll just tell you, if you haven't seen the San Jose episode, a little plug, the shows are airing on Create TV on July 29th and August 5th. And Create is PBS's travel and lifestyle network, so you can catch them there. There are a couple screenings broadcast throughout the day, so if you miss it, and you can check my website, travelswithkimhaas.com. We'll be sharing that information very soon. But yeah, it's preparing, and I think even if you're not, hosting a travel show, if you're going to a country, why not, do the preparation, learn as much as you can. If you don't speak the language, learn some words. I think if you can say thank you and please, and have a smile on your face and not go saying they should speak English, remember you're in someone else's country. And I think it's important to, you don't have to be fluent. But if you try and you know how to say, por favor and hola, buenos dias, gracias, it goes a long way. And if people see you trying, I think it makes a world of difference. And then also just wanting to learn more about the culture. I think, and I hope that that's what comes through when I travel, is that people see my genuine interest and love of people. And, my goal again is not to do anything that would be harmful or hurtful to anyone.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely feel the connection of being able to just appreciate a simple like hola.
Yeah.
Working with the public so many years, when I greet someone in Spanish, I can see like a genuine smile, like, oh, you speak Spanish, like just
Yes.
a simple hola or adios or que tengan un buen día.
Yes.
It makes a big difference for folks. It really does.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. And I'll speak to everybody. If and if I'm in Brazil, bom dia, como vai? I mean, I think it's meaningful and it's important to recognize people. So, but I like it. So it's fun.
We have a comment here by Noemi. They're interested to know of your joint travel ventures to national parks and Latino heritage sites.
So mine,
Mm-hmm.
joint travel ventures to national parks. I don't have any ventures with national parks. That's actually a nice idea. But I don't have any. But thank you, Noemi. You got me thinking. But I just love parks. But I don't have any ventures, so I don't know if yeah. But I love going to parks and just city parks. And then we've got Central Park here in New York, but all these little local parks, I really enjoy. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
even the Parque España, the one that we saw in the dancing clip, there might not be an abundance of all of these huge national parks, but like you mentioned, all of these other places that are outdoor spaces that might not have that title of a national parks are still outdoors. And it's still a place where people come together to recreate in whatever way that may be for them.
Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes if you can't get to a national park, depending if it's a distance and, for whatever reason you can't get to a national park, I think most places have, or in Latin America, your plaza, you can go to a park and it's just, give yourself a moment of respite and, relaxation, a chance to think or not think, just, unwind. And for me, and among all the trees and the greenery, usually is just, pretty. For me, it's pretty spectacular. And I love a palm tree, so I'm like, I love palm trees. I just think they're so happy. I just, so all that is, I think, makes our world pretty special.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, so as a producer of this show and as a natural storyteller, Kim, and a historian, you know, because you learn and you research all of these areas before visiting them. What kind of advice would you have to the next generation of just travelers, of people wanting to see new places, of your producers? Maybe we have people that are like, oh, I want to get into this as well. What kind of advice would you have for folks?
For someone who's looking to get into
for future travelers, for future producers like yourself, for future storytellers.
Oh my gosh, go. Go and be good when you go. Be kind and thoughtful, and try and prep before you go. And so you should have a sense of what's going on in the country in the moment that you're there. So you know about, you know, what's in the current events. You know that, you know, when we were there, Epsy Campbell, I know this is prior, she had just won. So she was the first Afro-Costa Rican to become vice president. And in the San Jose episode, I interview her sisters because, as I say, she was too busy. We tried to get her, and it was right in the middle of the campaign, and it was just really tough. But so knowing that when you go in, you know that it's an election, if that's what, you know, whatever you're doing, but having some sense of what's going on in the country so you can speak about it with someone, if you meet, you know, someone, or if somebody invites you to their home, or you can talk or ask them questions. I remember going to Nicaragua several years ago. I just thought Nicaragua was just super fascinating. And we had, my husband and I, really wonderful escort and driver. And he just shared so much of the history of Nicaragua. I mean, it was more than I could have gotten in a, you know, book, but the book preps you. But then he told his own personal stories. And, you know, and so I always remember that. And, you know, that there's an island, 365 islands in Nicaragua, so one for every day. But I say prep, read about people that, you know, are doing work that you like, reach out to them. I do that all the time. But I think if you can be a good traveler and go with, truly, I say, an open heart and an open mind. And I think, and also I find, speak to, you know, the wait staff and the people who, you know, may give you service in the hotel, because I think they're often overlooked. And many times they're brown and black people. And so when I try very hard, I'm not perfect, but I try and make sure if I go into a restaurant, you know, I speak to the Latino, the brown staff, in particular, the Afro-Latino staff. I want them to know that I see them. And so I became really my buddy in Rio, Antonio, the bellman. We talked every morning. I just love him. And so, I mean, just a great guy. And so I think some things like that are very important to me. And it lets people know that you see them and you're honoring them. And I think that can be part of your cultura, your conservation cultura, because if you pass that down, because that's something that I want my daughter to know, to do, is make sure she speaks to everyone. And then in particular, you pay attention to, oftentimes these are the brown and black people who are in service positions who may not always be recognized. So yeah. I don't know, that's kind of, I don't know if I answered your question at all.
No, you did. And I actually love that you brought that up, because that's something that I actively seek to do as well. You know, I love being able to like walk into a restaurant and smile, even if it's just smile, acknowledge the folks, brown people, anyone that is, you know, the waiting staff. It's just being able to connect with people and just, like you said, acknowledge them, see them, know that they're there, and thank them.
Yeah.
Really, it's really important, I think, just for our community, and again, just for us as a general population.
And just as human beings, I mean, black, white, brown, orange, whatever, just as human beings, you know, I think these are people that oftentimes, you know, like you said, go unnoticed and are not recognized and valued and honored. And so I try and make sure I do that. And it is very important to me on my travels, but not just here, and, you know, as living my life, I try and make sure I do that.
Yeah. Is there, Kim, I'm interested to know, is there like a conservation tip that you've learned throughout all of your travels?
Tip,
Yeah.
I try and memorialize, try and record. I mean, we have some of this, obviously on video, but I try and make sure I'm writing down, journaling, whatever however you want to call it. But I try and record some of these things experiences, because you do forget. You do, a year later, I was like, what was that? Such and such. And so I try and record those things and also share them with people, so that maybe they will take something from it, and maybe it'll inspire them to incorporate it somehow in their lives. So those would be probably some of my tips, is to share.
Yeah.
To share the goodness of, what I learned in Costa Rica with others, or, my trip to the favela in Rio, where, people have very unfortunately negative stereotypes of favelas and the favelados, the people who live in favelas, but share my experience, and maybe it'll open someone's eyes to, they're good people who live in all these places. And maybe we can be a little bit more open and think about somebody's experience or what they may have been through, which may have led to them living where they are. That there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of history that is placed, in particular, Afro-Latinos, unfortunately, so often at the bottom of the economic, social structure.
Yeah, thank you. And, what can we do to make sure that we get to see Afro-Latino Travels with Kim Haas, channel? Is there a second season? Like, where can our community start watching the first season?
Oh, if anybody's from Colombia and see my Colombia mug, I don't know if you can see that with an Afro-Colombiano in there. That's from a trip to Colombia, and I saw it. I was like, I gotta get that mug. But yeah, so you can catch Afro-Latino Travels, as I mentioned, on Create TV next Thursday, July 29th. We will have the schedule on our website soon, and Facebook and all that, and I think shared on Instagram. We'll be sharing that. And then August 5th as well. I think the 2 episodes air, one on one night and then on the second night. And then I'm hoping we'll air on PBS again for Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm not sure yet. Sometimes we don't know until the very last minute. And then please just stay in touch with us, because we want to shoot, as I said, in all these amazing countries. And we will be, if you feel so inclined to, donate to our fundraising campaign, that would be super helpful, because it takes a village, un pueblo, right, to make stuff happen. And but you can always catch us out on travelswithkimhaas.com. Please do message me. I love hearing from people. And if I don't get back to you right away, please don't. I promise I will. Please don't kill me. It's coming. And it's great to hear from folks and to hear their thoughts, their travel experiences. So all that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm definitely interested and definitely want to see some of these episodes.
Sure.
Captured me already.
Oh, great. Very wonderful.
Yeah. So again, thank you. Thank you so much, Kim. It really was such an honor to have this last hour with you and get an insight of all of these countries and cultures that you've been able to share with all of us by being able to capture it and being able to have your show Afro-Latino Travels with Kim Haas. So it has been so special.
Gracias, obrigada. Se fue tan rápido, pero muchísimas gracias.
Yeah, and for everyone else, please make sure that we, Latino Conservation Week still going strong. There's several other days coming up. You can look up future events either on latinoconservationweek.com, see any virtual panels, even in-person events in some places as well. So yeah, you can look there to stay updated on future events.
So thank you, Christian, and thanks to everybody who messaged us in the chat, and it was so wonderful. I had a great time.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We're going to play the dance video clip.
Okay.
Time.
Adios y gracias.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
For some, dance is just a form of exercise or reserved for special occasions. But for Sharifa Crawford Clark, a professional dancer on stage and off, dance represents so much more. Shadi's style combines traditional Caribbean dance steps with African movements that truly celebrate her heritage. Vámonos. Hola,
Hola.
Shadi.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
But where are we?
We are in Park, Spain, in the center of San Jose, Costa Rica.
It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a great place
It's
for
a great
dance.
place, yes.
¿Qué tipo de baile va a enseñarme hoy?
Vamos a hacer como un calipso caribeño.
Dice
como,
calipso.
Como mover caderas.
Ok, y usted, pero y cuando hablamos del Caribe, de los movimientos caribeños, ¿de qué estamos hablando?
Estamos hablando de una fusión de movimientos, pueden ser afro, de África obviamente, jamaiquinos y latinoamericanos también, tropicales. Es como una fusión. Es una forma de cultura, entonces pienso que al menos en la parte afro, desde la opresión que se ha vivido durante años, la danza ha sido una forma de unión entre familia, tribus y de liberación, una forma de ser felices y a pesar de las situaciones que tenemos en lo cotidiano, podemos expresarnos y ser libres y ser quienes somos en realidad.
Ok, muy bien.
Vamos a empezar moviendo las caderas un poquito de lado a lado, like, como dibujando un 8, like,
Sí.
un 8,
Un 8.
para allá, para allá, para allá. Exacto. Vamos. Y cada vez más grande,
Ok.
más grande. Eso, muy bien. Ahora vamos a quedar solo para un lado. Vamos a sacar, igual, dibujando como un círculo.
Ok.
Círculo, para allá. Para allá, eso, muy bien. A eso le vamos a agregar unas manos que vamos a hacer como dibujando un sol. 1, 2, 3, 4. Más despacio los brazos. 2, eso. 3. Brazo. Para el otro lado. Brazo. Eso. Y ahora más rápido. Vamos al sol. Y 1, 2, 3.
Ok.
Y al otro lado. And now, shoulders. Yes. Con los hombros, shimmy.
Shimmy, yes,
Yeah, shimmy.
I like the shimmy.
Yes, I like it too. Easy. And that's it. Yeah.
Bravo, bravo.
Bravo.
I mean, this is just fabulous. It makes
Yes.
me smile.
Yes.
And you're always smiling.
Always.
I love it. Yes.
Dancing makes me happy.
Yes. Tell me, what does dance mean to you?
Para mí el baile es un estilo de vida, la verdad. Es una forma de conocerse, de push yourself,
Yeah.
de amarse también y de dar a las personas algo, luz. darles.
Amarse.
Amarse, claro. Claro, uno se conoce y conoce los límites que tiene y también hasta dónde puede llegar.
De verdad, ha sido un placer, un gran placer.
El placer es mío. Ojalá que les guste Costa Rica.
Me encanta.
Gracias por compartir nuestra cultura.
Placer.